Hello everyone, my name is Victor. I am the Occult Technician, and this is Mind War, Season 6, Episode 8. Welcome back to Mind War, folks. I appreciate you being here. We have a lot to cover today, so let's get started. So folks, I think I've mentioned before that I like to record 2 episodes in a row now. When I was trying to do it every week, that was pretty exhausting for me. Your friend Victor here is quickly becoming an old man. Again, I wish I knew all of these things as a younger man, as a teenager in my young 20s and 30s. I can't imagine how powerful all of this would have been. So during the break between recording the 2 episodes, Mother Mind War, she woke up from her somnambulance. She like myself, is a night owl. She spends most of the afternoon and early evening sleeping now. And I think it's almost 10 o'clock here at the Mind War Manor. And I figured, hey, if she's awake, let's get her a snack, right? So anytime we can try to get her some food, I like to do that. So we put together a nice plate. It's like an appetizer plate. And it's just things like chicken and avocados and cheese, some blueberries and some pudding, along with a small can of root beer. That seems to be Mom's favorite thing to drink right now. So whatever cravings that she has, we're trying to make sure we fulfill those alongside of making sure she gets some healthy foods as well. So that was nice to take a break and sit with her for a few minutes and make sure she got some food. And so now she's probably going to be up watching YouTube and maybe watching Netflix for a little while. She's usually up pretty late. I know last night I was awake until almost 5 a.m. I don't know why. I couldn't sleep. But I think she was up most of the night with me watching her shows and stuff. So again, just a nice little break there. And it feels good to do what I can, right? When we are put in these situations, we're often very limited on what we can do to help. Mom has relegated the men in her life, so Dad and I, to doing a lot of the grunt work, which is good. We appreciate the ability and the opportunity to do it. But what I found very cute was that besides Dad and I, she does not want any men around. She said she loves them, friends, family, of course she loves them very dearly, but she's like, I just want to be with my ladies. And that's been great. Her sister, my aunt, has been coming every day. My grandmother comes every few days. She's 92 years old. My mom's best friend, who literally just lives 2 houses away, she came to visit today with her daughter and her daughter's daughter, and that was wonderful. It's great when the ladies can come over and get together and help care for her womanly needs, right? So these are the type of duties that we find ourselves in throughout life. Again, not anything that I was preparing for. If you've been watching the Mind War podcast since its inception, I think I've been at this for 1.5 years now, maybe a little more. I'm pretty sure we can all agree this is not what I had been planning, but this is where I find myself. And again, honored to have the opportunity to do this. I've never experienced this before, right? I haven't been a part of any real death before, right? And I've heard stories about what it should be like, the scenarios and things. And I think what we're going through here right now in my family, this is exactly the best scenario for it. Mom, although again, she's in pain, and hospice has been amazing. The nurses that come over are working diligently every day to help her stay comfortable, and they're doing an amazing job at that. It is difficult, but it wasn't shocking. It wasn't out of nowhere. I mean, the initial diagnosis, we were all a little shocked, right? But once that initial shock and just understanding of, well, of course, this is what happens when you smoke, folks. You get lung cancer when you turn 70. I mean, that's what's going to happen. If you are smoking cigarettes every day out there, folks, that's what's going to happen to you. So, be careful with that. But, with all that said, this is still kind of the best scenario, right? For the situation that we're in, our aristos, right, folks? To those of you that have been sticking around since Mind War Season 1, Episode 1, you know what the aristos is, right? So let's pick up where we left off in our analysis and assessment of the Gateway process, the report that was written by Lieutenant Colonel McDonald of the Army. So it's a DoD report that was, I believe, released or allowed to be released by the CIA to be declassified or whatever. So we're going to pick up on Section 9 called Brain Stimulation. It says, Bentov's biomedical model shows that this resonance is of considerable importance since it is directly transmitted to and acts and impacts upon the brain. The resulting vibration is received and transmitted into the brain itself via the fluid-filled third and left ventricles located above the brainstem. An electromagnetic pulse is then generated, which stimulates the brain to raise the amplitude and frequency of brainwave output, just as Dr. Temlow observed in his research on the effects of the hemi-sync tapes. So again, in the last episode, we were reading about the fact that when our heart beats and pumps blood through our body, it's creating sound, vibration, and frequency. Those vibrations resonate through our body, and now we're learning that as those vibrations, that frequency, that resonance goes up and down through our body, that once it returns back to our head, there's actually an electromagnetic pulse is generated, and that stimulates our brain. So, our thoughts and everything, as far as science knows, I mean, as far as I have learned from science, it's all electrical, right? It's all electrical signals in our brain. So it's awesome to think about how the physical parts of our body are actually causing electrical impulses to occur. It's just amazing, right? It says also the brain is contained in a tight membrane called the dura, which is in turn cushioned by a thin layer of fluid located between it and the skull. So our brain, which I just learned recently, is made primarily of cholesterol. So don't be fooled into this idea that cholesterol is bad for you. Of course, there are bad types of cholesterol, but make sure you are eating the good kinds. Things from avocados and eggs and stuff like that, right? That is good cholesterol. I think the bad ones come from fried foods and, plant-based oils when you're frying stuff. I think that's what they mean by the bad cholesterol. And so our brain is encased in basically like a plastic bag, right? This membrane, a skin membrane, and outside of that is just this little bit of fluid that is between our skull and that bag that our brain is in. As the coherent resonance produced by the human heart in a state of profound relaxation reaches the fluid layer between the brain or surrounding the brain, it sets up a rhythmic pattern in which the brain moves up and down approximately 0.005 to 0.010 millimeters in a continuous pattern. The self-reinforcing character of resonant behavior accounts for the body's ability to sustain this movement despite the minimal level of energy involved. And what you're going to find is there is a feeling where your brain almost feels like it has a heartbeat. You're going to kind of feel that in your mind, kind of this flow this ebb and flow into your physical brain as you're listening to the tapes. You can feel that minute movement. It feels almost, again, like a heartbeat in your mind. It says, in this way, the entire body, based on its own micro-motion, functions as a tuned vibrational system which transfers energy in a range between 6.8 and 7.5 hertz into the Earth's ionospheric cavity, which itself resonates at 7 to 7.5 hertz. Okay, so our body and its micro-motions function as a tuned vibrational system that transfers energy at 6.8 to 7.5 hertz. Again, we've heard about these at the different alpha, beta, and theta, wave levels, right? And this energy is transferred out into Earth's ionospheric cavity. So the motion, the energy, frequency, vibrational resonance that each of our bodies make actually resonate out into the earth, into our atmosphere. And it kind of makes sense, like, you throw a rock into a quiet lake and it sends out those vibrational waves. The waves go all the way through the lake, and it makes sense of, when something happens in our body, it doesn't just stay within the body, it radiates out the same way that our bodies are warm. We produce heat. So when someone else comes near us and they give us a hug, we feel the heat from each other. It's not just trapped in our own body. And of this process, Bentov states, this is occurring at a very long wavelength of about 40,000 kilometers, or just about the perimeter of the planet. In other words, the signal from the movement of our bodies will travel around the world in about 1/7 of a second through the electrostatic field in which we are embedded. Such a long vibrational wave knows no obstacles, and its strength does not attenuate much over large distances, meaning it doesn't shrink. It stays the same strength as it goes. These waves that we're sending out, naturally it will go through just about anything: metal, concrete, water, and the fields making up our bodies. Okay, before I read this next sentence, again, our bodies are creating through the physical, they're creating vibrations. Our heart is beating, it's creating a wave, a vibration, a sound. These are being sent out. We are then thinking about how those waves are connected to our brain and our mind, and how now our thoughts can be turned into waves as well. And Bentov says this: it is the ideal medium for conveying a telepathic signal. That's right, folks. Again, we are reading a report from the Department of Defense. Bentov here is a biomedical engineer, and he's saying, and again, this is what we've talked about before, how just one sentence can create a whole new field of study. You could look at this and say, I'm going to dig into this deeper, right? He's saying that we may be able to measure and harness these wavelengths as a form of a telepathic signal. I'm telling you, folks, if you and I are able to have access to this information, then all the smarty, farty, top secret people that are out there, scientists and all that stuff, I can't imagine what they're actually doing. My guess is somewhere on this planet, there are a group of people that have scientifically figured out how to use telepathy. That's what I'm reading here. Because again, this is out for the public. It was written, I think, decades ago, right? I mean, it was declassified in 2003. So it was written even before that. Who knows what they're doing now? And it's amazing because it's little chunks like that. That's just one sentence. But what we're hearing here is that these scientists are saying that there is a possibility that we could harness telepathy. Amazing. Consequently, the gateway process is designed to rather rapidly induce a state of profound calm within the nervous system and to significantly lower blood pressure to cause the circulatory system, skeleton, and all other physical organ systems to begin vibrating coherently at approximately 7 to 7.5 cycles per second. The resulting resonance sets up a regular, repetitive sound wave, which propagates its consonance with the electrostatic field of the earth. Again, our resonant energy balloon. So not only are we harnessing these vibrations and this energy, these frequencies, but we are imagining them. We breathe in that bright white energy. We take it in from the bottom of our feet. It swirls around as it goes upwards through our spine, filling all of our chakras. You can feel the groin gets warm, the belly gets butterflies, the heart starts to beat, the throat swells up, the mind gets this flush of kind of dopamine type chemicals into the brain. It feels amazing. That's the Kundalini. That's refilling your chakras. That's what it means. And then as we breathe out, we're sending out that vibrational energy out, down around us like a fountain, that resonant energy balloon. And what the authors here are saying, that as we do that, we are getting into the same rhythmic patterns of the earth. I think that's kind of that as above, so below stuff, right? Where we really truly are a part of the earth system. We are a part of the universe. We are stardust, all that stuff. I know that it sounds silly, kind of occultic, mysterious or whatever, but I think there's truth to it. And I think through science, they're kind of proving that here. Again, I'm not some kind of engineer or scholar or anything like that. But I think this information is, when we just take it one section at a time like we've been doing, breaking it down by sentences if we need to, pulling out specific words, finding the definitions like we're doing. This is what research is. This is what learning is. We're just scratching the surface with all this. And my hope is, so many times, the only way that I've gotten here to where I am today to share this information with you is I've been listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos for freaking 30 years now, right? And you can listen to 1,000 hours, but it's one moment when you hear somebody say something and you go, wait a minute, what was that? What did they just say? I'm going to do a deep dive into that one little phrase or that one little sentence, right? And we're going to hear more about that when we talk about the spiritual side and when we talk about the book that we're going to be working from and how I first learned about that book. It was really an interesting story. So let's move on to section 10 of assessment or analysis and assessment of the gateway process. Number 10, energy entrainment. Oh, remember that psychic entrainment device. Okay, that stuff's silly, but let's see where they take this. So as the body is turned into a coherent oscillator. Sorry, folks. Let's take it from the top, as they say. As the body is turned into a coherent oscillator vibrating in the harmony with the surrounding electrostatic medium, the specific exercises included in the gateway tapes enjoin the participant to build up the energy field surrounding his body, presumably by using energy from the Earth's field, which the body is now in training because of its ability to resonate with it. Wow. Okay, so again, the building up the energy surrounding the body. Resonant energy balloon. We just talked about that. Now the author is saying that again, when we get into this state, we are getting onto that same vibration, that same frequency as the earth. Because again, the earth is alive. Just like we talked about, the beating heart creates a sound, creates a vibration, creates a frequency. The earth does too. Think of all of the natural systems that are occurring on earth right now that are making noise, making waves, earthquakes, lightning. All of that stuff is creating this earth's, resonance. And again, from dust to dust, right? We came from the earth. We will return to the earth. But while we are in these physical bodies, we can still have this connection to it through these frequencies. Again, I've heard this idea of frequencies and hertz and all this. You hear it in YouTube videos, and no one ever has explained what it actually is. And I know that I'm doing a terrible job at explaining what they're talking about here. But at least I think we're starting to get a little clarity on what this kind of occultic and esoteric, topic is. These frequencies and vibrations, right? We're starting to learn a little bit about it. This puts the body's energy field into homogeneity with its surrounding environment and promotes movement of the seat of consciousness into the surrounding environment, partly in response to the fact that the two electromagnetic medians are now a single energy continuum. They're saying, okay, what that sentence means is that because we are able to get our physical bodies through our ability to relax, which slows down our heartbeats, it gets our heart and our body is creating vibrations, frequencies, and resonance that match the environment that we're in, which is the earth and our atmosphere and everything. And because of that, we are able to actually have the out-of-body experiences, because now our spirit body, our second state body that we've talked about so many times, now it's in resonance with the environment that we're in. That's why we can move through it. That's why we can have the out-of-body experience and do the astral travel, because we're in sync with our vibrational frequency environment. Wild stuff. But again, these guys are so much smarter than I am, and they're saying that this stuff is possible. Thus, the same process which moves the brain into focused coherence at steadily higher levels of frequency and amplitude, so as to entrain analogous frequencies in the universe for data collection, also promotes enhancement of bodily energy levels to a point adequate to permit the subject to experience an out-of-body movement when he is ready to do so. More will be said about this topic later. In addition, by resonating with the Earth's electromagnetic sphere, the human body creates a surprisingly powerful carrier wave to assist the mind in communication activity with other human minds similarly tuned. That's right. Again, another massive paragraph from two very intelligent scientists who tell us that we can have out-of-body movement, as they describe it, when we are ready to do so. That's a huge part. And that we are resonating with the Earth's electromagnetic sphere, and it creates a powerful, surprisingly powerful is the word, surprisingly powerful carrier wave in order to communicate with others who are, similarly tuned, other human minds. Again, telepathy. Now, for me, this has been a solo journey. I know all of you are out there. I see the numbers every week. My 12 disciples come back every Sunday. I love all of you. I appreciate you being here. You don't understand how important it is for me to know that you are all out there following along, hopefully experiencing along with me. And I really hope that someday, after we've all gone through our solo journey, that we will be able to meet up. And I think it would be amazing to really test this stuff out. Can we really, communicate telepathically? I mean, why not try? I know it sounds silly, and so many people would just laugh it off. And then, again, if they're religious, if they got the societal and religious wet blankets on them, they're going to say what we're doing is evil and all that shit. And it's like, forget all of that stuff. Forget about how sci-fi it might sound or whatever. Why not try it? We've come this far. Why not? It could be a lot of fun, and who knows what could happen from it. So again, that was section 10 called Energy Entrainment. We read through section 9, Brain Stimulation of Analysis and Assessment of the Gateway Process. Okay. So now let's see. We're going to do a deep dive into Wave 8 Union Tape 2, Meeting the Entry Director. Folks, I was not at all prepared for what this tape was, okay? For what it is and what I experienced. It really was wild. And again, I don't have the transcripts from the tape, so we're just going to dive right into what I recorded afterwards. And it really is wild, folks. Okay. So this again is Wave 8 Union Tape 2, Meeting the Entry Director. The narrator instructs us to go to our special place, and we are going to meet up with the entry director in Focus 27. So I go to the beautiful Viking-style gazebo that's here at the Mind War Manor. I vision myself in the backyard under the lights, and there the narrator... Okay, so to start out, the narrator says, go to your special place in Focus 27. So this time I wanted to try something different. Instead of just going to the garden and going to some of the place in the woods here that I used to spend time with Nate, I thought I'm going to try something different. I'm going to stay local, right? Here in the backyard of the Mind War Manor, there's a beautiful deck out there that my dad built. And a few summers ago, we went and bought a gazebo, I think it's called, right? And we installed it on the deck. It's beautiful. It was a lot of fun. All the neighbors came together to help us put it together. And we strung some lights through it. It's great. It's, of course, just a beautiful place, a nice place to hang out, in the evenings and stuff. So I decided, let me go there. Let me start there because I know it. I can visualize it in my head. I can see it crystal clear right now. It's literally just a few feet away from me. I can't physically see it, but I can mentally imagine it in my mind. And I thought, let me start there. And it was fairly easy to get into the out-of-body state and move to the gazebo and be there underneath it. But once I got there, I was having a very difficult time orienting myself because I literally felt sideways the whole time. I'm standing there and I'm going, why can't I stand up? I felt like I was just floating sideways, and then I would kind of twist around a little bit. I just was unable to stand up right vertically like humans do when we walk around. It was a lot of rolling around very difficult to try to get oriented. But I was there. It was where we were supposed to be. And then the narrator comes on and instructs us with the following. It says to first meet with someone from our ancestry, our physical reincarnation ancestry. I recently learned that my grandfather Victor, his middle name was Thorvald, Thorvald. So I saw Thorvald, I called out for him, and what I saw was that when you stare into your closed eyes and you focus as hard as you can, in that tiny spot of light, that fractal light begins to form and it starts to grow. It's circular. That was his eye, and then his Viking face appeared before me. Fractals, beautiful colors. He showed me where he lived. It was in the forest. It was almost like a log cabin, an earth-style home. It was amazing. It was wonderful, and I floated away from there. Okay. So again, because I didn't have the transcripts of these tapes, I really didn't know what we were getting into. There's small descriptions on the MZOO Institute or the hemi-sync website, right? Descriptions about what the tapes are, but I really didn't know. And so I find myself again under the gazebo. I'm standing there, a little difficult to orient myself. But the narrator says, we want you to try to contact someone from your physical ancestry. Again, we've talked about that before. What I believe we've discovered is that reincarnation is done through the physical. We pass along a spirit, right? Not our conscious spirit that is individual to us, that after we die floats into the afterlife. Not that one. Not the spirit that we use to travel as we do astral travel and out-of-body experiences and stuff. But this is more an animal instinct. It's, gosh, what did I call it the other day? I'm so sorry that I'm blanking on that. But the mentor, right? It's these ingrained teachings that we have. It's where our intuition comes from, right? It's that spirit that gets passed on through the physical. That's reincarnation. Okay? The stories of reincarnation that we hear were built because our conscious spirit is afraid of death. The physical body, not necessarily, because again, as long as you have procreated and had a child, you have already reincarnated. You have fulfilled the need for reincarnation. But the conscious spirit and our ego and our selfishness and our I nonsense, we're afraid. Our physical spirit is afraid. And that's where they come up with this bullshit lie story that you get to have your own physical body and then reincarnate into another one, and another one, and another one. No, you don't, you selfish pig. That's not how it happens. You get one fucking chance. This is it. This is your only fucking chance. You're not coming back into a physical body ever again on this earth. So don't fucking waste it. Make sure you procreate. Have a baby. Have a child. Raise it. That is your reincarnation. Your need and desire for reincarnation will be satisfied when you do that. You'll no longer be living with this silly, egotistical voice in the back of your head saying, well, if I die, I'm just going to come back as another fucking whatever. No, you're not. It's not how it works. So, with that being said, sorry about the little tangent there. I think it was important to say those things, but the narrator says we want you to connect with someone from your lineage, from your ancestry. And again, like I said in the tape, going through all the paperwork, helping my parents with their estate, I found some paperwork, and my grandfather Victor, that's where I get my namesake from, his middle name was Thorvald. Thor, like Thor, the god Thor, Thorvald. And I mean, what a Viking ancestry is that? I mean, so amazing. We've talked about this a little bit before in some of my past commentary. At my high school mascot was a Viking, and we're going to get so much more into this in future seasons. It's amazing how all of this is coming together, right? So I called out to Thorvald, right? Because I'm guessing if that was my grandpa's middle name, someone in our lineage was probably named Thorvald. So I called out to him. And what happens is when you close your eyes, and you can do it now as, totally sober, not listening to the tapes, no enhancements, nothing like that. If you just close your eyes long enough and you try to focus, you're going to see a little circle of light start to appear. It's going to be fractal. It's going to be colorful. If you rub your eyes a little bit, it'll grow in strength, right? And so what I was doing is I started focusing so hard on that little circle, and it became brighter and brighter and stronger and very, very strange, a little scary. There was no fear here in the Mind War. But that became Thorvald's eye. That's where he started to appear. And I could see his eye very clearly. Again, it was fractal, multiple colors, circular, very, very deep looking into his eye. But around him, and just in my periphery, I could see his face start to form, that kind of Viking face with his big, long, white beard, just like your friend Victor here. And again, I don't know if that's what Thorvald looks like. I don't know if there even is a Thorvald, but I would guess, again, that there is. That's why we have middle names. We usually use them from people that are deeper in our ancestry that we want to honor, right? And so there was Thorvald in front of me, and saw his face. It was fractal, it was bright, it was colorful, it was psychedelic, right? It was a psychedelic Viking face, and it was kind of scary. Not going to lie. I wasn't scared, but if I painted the picture of it right now, I think you would say, oh yeah, that's pretty wild. That's cool looking, right? So very interesting. Again, this is not something that I was thinking was going to happen at all. There was no communication really between us besides, for me, it was reverence. I was just like kind of in awe looking at him going, holy shit, this is really cool, man. Thank you for being whoever you are and coming and visiting and this type of stuff. I mean, that was what it was. I didn't get messages from him or anything, but that was the first part of the tape, and now we're going to move on.
The narrator says, now we're going to go and meet the entry director. He is in the planning center that we talked about from the last tape. So we go to the planning center, meet the entry director, and he tells us what you're about to experience was what it was like to take physical form for the very first time. Now, this is not the story that we think of normally here on Earth, right? Which is a baby coming out of a birth canal. No, this is when our spirit was condensed into its very first physical form, the sperm, the mind, the brain with a spinal cord connected to it, the human tadpole, if you will.
Okay. Again, I was not prepared for this whatsoever. I had no idea. I mean, because we read about the entry director, right? Remember back in the books, Robert Monroe was talking about meeting with the entry director, meeting with Spirit A and Spirit B, and kind of learning what it was like for them to come down to the earth for the first time. Well, that's what we're doing. We're now living those books, right? The stories in those books from Monroe's book trilogy. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. So we meet the entry director. I don't necessarily remember even like seeing anybody or anything as a spirit. I think it was more of just kind of learning. It was like they were just passing this knowledge on to me. And so again, when we hear stories of life here on Earth, we normally think of when you're born, right? Oh, that's when we are alive for the first time. That's when we take our first breath, and that's what it means to be alive and all that type of stuff. But the human body during the birth process, that's not the first time you took physical form. The very first physical form that we ever take, again, and I know it sounds silly, but it's the sperm, right? What I call the human tadpole. If you look at it, it's literally a brain with a spine attached to it. And if you watch a tadpole grow, it's the same as a human fetus. The little arms and legs start to appear, and the tail disappears, and the eyes and the mouth and everything start to get created. And all of that is in each one of those individual little spermatozoids, right? And so we kind of go on to talk about what it felt like to go from spirit to physical for the first time.
Okay, so envision a galaxy worth of bright, brilliant, white energy, white light, brilliant white light. That is your soul, an entire galaxy's worth. And it's being funneled down, slowly funneled down. I could feel myself in this bright white funnel falling, sinking deeper and deeper and deeper, and getting more and more compressed and compressed more and more into this first form of life, that very first physical body that we enter. And I thought of...
Okay, so our spirit, this is how I felt it and saw it, okay? So when like we learned in Monroe's books, you basically kind of get in line and say, oh, I would like to become a human. And so now you're in line with all the other spirits that want to do it. And when I was visualizing that spirit, it's exactly what I said. An entire galaxy, an entire solar system's worth of bright, brilliant white light energy, just massive, right? And it was being funneled down almost like a black hole or something like that. It was just that bright white brilliant energy was just being compressed and pushed, and I could feel myself just being pulled almost down through the funnel. All of this bright white brilliant white energy is being pulled down, smaller and smaller and more concentrated and more powerful, and until you get into that tiny microscopic first physical body. It truly was amazing. Again, not at all what I thought this tape was going to be. I had no idea I was going to be given the opportunity to relive becoming a sperm for the first time. I mean, what the, right? I mean, this is wild. This is we talked about it. We read about it, but experiencing it is just so different. And I'm smiling because it's lighthearted. Things have been so heavy lately here in the Mind War, it was silly in a way almost, but it felt really amazing. And it was kind of cool. I think I relived what it means to go from spirit to physical. I think that's what the purpose of this tape is. I hope you get to relive it for yourself, right? So let's go on here.
The possibilities that were out there of all the other lives that were with me.
So that little phrase, again, I thought of myself, okay, now I'm just this tiny little, multi-celled organism. There isn't much, it's microscopic. When we're created, there's also millions of others that are with us in each single release, right? I think you all understand what I'm talking about here without me needing to get too graphic. But you're one of millions that you survived. You survived one out of the millions. Or if you're like my amazing children, 2 out of those millions, right? And I thought to myself, again, we all know how special that is, to be the one that made it. That's the importance of life. That's the beauty of life. I don't want to get into the right to life and the right to choose and all that nonsense. It's such a filthy, low conversation, the way that it's had here in the West. It makes me very angry, but I try not to think about it because I think it's more important to focus on the beauty. Let's stop focusing on the killing of this very early stages of life. But let's by going through these experiences, by listening to this tape, you understand the importance of life. And that's just the first step. I mean, just the first step of your spirit going into its first physical form. It still has to get into the garden. It has to go into the soil and then grow and everything. And it's just so beautiful. And it's, again, amazing to think that as a man, one single release, if you took all of the life forms that are in it, you could have 1 million plus children all at one time. If you could harness each one of those little human tadpoles and bring them to gestation, right? You could have millions of children from one single event. And that is amazing. It really is. And it just, again, not something I thought I would be thinking about or talking about. I didn't think that this is where the Gateway tapes were going to go or anything, but it was a cool experience. It's not life transforming, but it's more life affirming, right? It just makes you appreciate things a little more, I guess. Kind of going through this and thinking about this process. Most people don't, but we should. If we're so flippant on extinguishing life, maybe doing these type of activities, these type of exercises will give us more reverence for life. That's why when people say that what we do here is wrong or scary or we shouldn't do it or they don't trust it, makes me so angry. And folks, I'm doing the very best that I can, right? Because again, I'm here in the Mind War Manor. I have to, stay calm. I'm not in the Mind War Studios where I can rant and rave and scream like I want to. So, again, just the way that we think about some of these subjects in the West and how just valueless things are here, it makes me so angry. And I'm so excited the time that we're in. Again, this is being recorded as of the first few days of February 2025. And for those of you who have been paying attention, the last couple of weeks have been fucking wild. And we're just getting started.
And then we were able to just explore. This tape allows us for a long period of time to just explore in the beautiful sounds. It's very warm and comforting. Unfortunately, I didn't use my energy conversion box to the best advantage, and because I'm dealing with so many heavy things in life right now, I wasn't able to completely focus. But near the end of the tape, I refocused. I gave thanks for the experience that I just had. It was amazing. It was this tape, there was a lot of sounds of like...
Okay, so before we go there, again, once you kind of go through this process of getting into your first physical life, your first physical body, what it really is, not being a baby being born, but actually taking your spirit into its first physical form. After that occurs, we're allowed to just kind of float there and relax, right? And just like I said in the tape, I did not use my energy conversion box correctly, because as soon as we were able to just kind of have free time, I just started thinking about paperwork and stuff. It's been a lot of work here. I'm sure all of you can understand what I'm going through right now. But there is a lot of paperwork and stuff that needs to be done, and that's what I was thinking about. And that's unfortunate. But before the end of the tape, I did kind of recorrect myself and say, okay, stop thinking about that stuff. Take a few minutes to enjoy yourself and give thanks before you finish, right?
Choreographed singing, right? Just almost kind of angelic type sound, right? Where in the last tape, there was a cricket. A cricket was used quite a bit, but not a natural cricket. It sounded like it was one that was made with a musical instrument. It was it really made me focus and think about the wooded scenes that I was experiencing on the last tape, and now this one with the more angelic sounds. It really brought out that white light. It was brilliant. But now it is time to do magic.
So what I was talking about there at the end is in tape 8-1, they were using what sounded like a cricket, but not a natural cricket like they recorded it, but more like a cricket like they had some type of musical instrument that they played a few times and recorded it, or maybe they made a digital sound of a cricket. But that was able to help me kind of think about being in the forest and stuff like that. That was easy. And then with 8-2, I don't think it was voices. I think it was a musical instrument or a digital sound that was made, but it sounded like angelic singing or kind of humming together in unison, right? And that allowed that brilliant white light that makes up the spirit as it's being funneled down into that first physical form. It really gave kind of a heavenly feel to it, for better words, right? It was very powerful, right? Kind of this angelic singing, which was really interesting. A very cool new sound. These tapes in 8-1, the narrator reminds us of our preparatory process. Says do the energy conversion box, the resonant tuning, the resonant energy balloon, and then say your affirmation. And he says, I'm not going to tell you this again in the following tapes. So starting with 8-2, he just says, I'll see you in Focus 27, or wherever the narrator's going to instruct us to go, right? And so you just do your preparatory process on your own. The sounds still happen, right? You still hear the resonant tuning and all that type of stuff, but he just doesn't remind you. So again, before you listen to the tape, just go through in your mind that preparatory process, what you're going to do prior to getting into the tape, right? So another very successful tape. Meeting the entry director. We first learned about him in earlier episodes of the Gateway Experience series that we've done here, where Monroe was talking about meeting this entry director when he was following his friends Spirit A and Spirit B as they became human for the first time and as they died. Because remember, we watched this play out. Monroe was able to walk us through different scenarios where a spirit became a human and then it died, and the human maybe got stuck in those lower levels, right? Those early focus levels, they get stuck because they were angry or on drugs or whatever it was. And he just gave us a lot of examples. We worked through them. Again, it's so important because now it's our turn to experience these things, imagine them in our minds, and that's exactly what we did. Another great tape. I think we had another great episode here today, folks. I'm so excited. We are on Wave 8 already. This series is quickly coming to an end. We have just a few more weeks left. I can't wait to see where the Gateway Experience tapes take us. I appreciate you being here. And as always, remember, folks, harden your hearts and open your minds, because this is Mind War.